Hello, everybody, and good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. I do think it's Wednesday this morning. I do think it is. But happy Wednesday to you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys already know this is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast. Now, before we do anything, if this is your first time tuning in, because we will be switching platforms real soon, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And, you know, if you guys have been following me for quite some times, you guys already know that my next guest, he's been on my old podcast, and he's coming to share his story and his knowledge on the new podcast. Real good friend of mine. This man is a rock star, been there, done that, and he's still doing it. So when we talk about certain things, you guys are going to have a blast. So before I bring him up here, do me a favor. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section. And if you guys know anybody who can benefit from the conversations that we have, please share this with them. Help us get the word out there. But also, we're going to have some amazing updates for you guys as we go. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to remind you that this is for educational purposes only, okay? Now, without further ado, you guys help me welcome my guest, Dr. Robb Kelly, to the show. Dr. Robb, how you doing, my brother?
Hey, my man, I'm doing good. Hey, guys, good to see you again. Sit down, man. Hold on. It's going to be a great one.
Oh man, it always is, man. We always talking. Well, we just now started coming back, and you've been busy. You've been rocking it all across the world, and things like that, doing big things. Now, before we get into all of that, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Hey guys, my name is Dr. Robb Kelly. I'm a psychologist PhD and a behavioral sciences PhD. I've been in the addiction industry for about 30 years. 18 in America, which I'm so proud of. Originally from Manchester in the United Kingdom. I have 5 offices around the world now. We do TVs, we do books and all that great stuff. But really just today, it's about helping others. You see, I have what a lot of people don't have. At last, I have enough. I have enough. So most of the stuff I do now is giving back. If we can help one person on here, Tony, I think we're doing our job today. So that's what it's about for me. I'm a 10 out of 10 every day because, hey, I died twice on the streets in Manchester. What the hell can you do to me that I haven't already done to myself? That's the attitude that I have. And everybody, no matter what you're going through, can recover from anything you're going to and be chosen and go on and lead the world.
And you know what? And like you said, it's going to be a really, really good one. So let's dive into your story a little bit, right? You know what I'm saying? Growing up in Manchester, and you said something, you died twice in the streets out there. And I love that mentality where you're like, what else can you do to me, right? You know what I'm saying? I've already been there, done that. And, and then we're going to touch on, the addiction aspect and the mental health. And then we're going to tie all of this in. So tell people about your journey, about how Dr. Robb Kelly became who he is today.
So I grew up in a lower poor class. We call it council estates. Over here they call it low projects. I was on the projects. Obviously, you had to fight to survive. I was in gangs from an early age. So I loved it at the time, and grew up. And I got out because I went to college, and I was so lucky to go to college. It was a Freemason friend. It was a friend of a friend that got me in there. And, I've never looked back since. But I suffered from alcoholism. And I say I suffered from past tense. I don't suffer anymore with alcoholism. I've recovered from that bullshit we go through. But, I wanted to, first of all, be educated because nobody in my family had gone to college. But what I didn't know is born into an alcoholic family, that it's passed down from generation to generation. So we're kind of born this way, alcoholics, and we've done tons of research on this. You can go find everything online. But I didn't know I was suffering from alcoholism. So the more I drank, the more I thought it was normal. I got married, had 2 children. Horrible stuff happened in the house that I wouldn't share for years and years. Like 20 years, I was so embarrassed about what happened. Lost my children, stuff like that. But was on the streets, homeless for 14 months, 7 suicide attempts on 2 occasions, like we just said. I was dead, and they brought me back on the side of a horrible, rainy, smelly Manchester road at some crazy early hours of the morning. And I hated them men for that. You see, I didn't go to hell when I was on the street. You know something, guys? I could sure see from where I was. Make no mistake. And by the grace of God, a huge spiritual experience, I was pulled off the streets. I was sent to a guy that worked with me for 12 weeks. I recovered, and now I'm in America, 25 years on, 28 years, I don't know how long it is, and we're doing great things. And we have a passion because I wasn't happy with people just saying, "Oh, you're an alcoholic." It's like, why? Oh, I don't know why. You just drink too much. You're an alcoholic. I wasn't happy with that because I would never put my children in front of them. I would never put my wife or anybody, that I loved. I'd never put alcohol in front of them, and yet I did on many, many occasions. And I wanted to find out why. And that's why the Robb Kelly Group was born really about 18 years ago, as soon as I came here. And we've been up and going for about 16 years over here. Stepped out the industry for 4 years or something, just disillusioned with what's going on. But came back with a vengeance about 12 years ago. And yeah, we're having fun, man, because I was, like you said before, Tony, I love what you said. I'm sick of that, sick and tired of watching people die
Yeah.
of lack of education
Yeah.
about what's really going on. So when I say to people that alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with every other addiction, you'll kind of think that's crazy, or you'll understand that it's not the alcohol. So we can recover from that, and that's what we do today. We use a neuroscience tools, neuroscience education. We have a 98% success rate, and we're the only company in the world offering a money back guarantee if you relapse after finishing with us.
See, that's really amazing. That just lets you know that you out there doing the daggone thing, like because a few years ago when you was on the Memories of Us podcast when we first met, you was telling me about your school, and I was telling people, I was like, if you want to know about addiction, this is the man to talk about it. And even I stand on that till this day, right? You know what I'm saying? I still stand on that because we realized that we had a whole lot of similarities, right? You know what I'm saying? Alcoholism. And I used to always joke with people that call themselves alcoholics, right? Because I was like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it that you can drink 4 or 5 beers and you be sloppy drunk, and I can drink like 3 cases and still look at you and have a conversation? I used to think that was cool, right? You know what I'm saying? But then I realized that it wasn't cool, that I had a problem, right? You know what I'm saying? We talked about that, being drunk. As a matter of fact, that's how I ended up going to prison. I was drunk and they caught me up and they charged me with some stuff that I never even did. And I ended up doing 5 years for a crime I never committed. And I was like, you know what? This is a BS right here. But you think Tony would learn his lesson? Nah, I didn't. I sure didn't. But before I go on, I'm to my man, the heat detector out there, the Unwrapped Podcast channel, greetings from Chicago. Hey, brother, thank you for tuning in, man. I got Robb Kelly up here. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section for me, and we'll be sure to answer those. Because my man right here, we've talked about it as well. We've talked about drinking. So, hey, brother, this is going to be a good one. So we all have walked similar paths, man. We have walked similar paths, and when we think about where we were at then, being in the games, we talked about all of this stuff, right? And that was funny that we both started looking at it like, yeah, I really, at the time I loved it, right? You know what I'm saying? Being in the games, it was like a free reign to go out there and raise hell. But, and again, it's just one of those things when you're young, dumb, and you're out there running the streets like that, you think that there's no consequences to our actions until the actions of our consequences come and bite us in the butt. And, and then look back on where we are right now. And things like that. It's been a hell of a road. You also did bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's like, I have the alcoholic addicted mind, so I either do something to the max or I don't do it at all. So I became a semi-pro bodybuilder back in the day, and this was because I got bullied at school. So I what do I do when I get bullied? I start bodybuilding, and then I start boxing, martial arts, and all the stuff. Because what happened to me at school, I promised after being beaten up one day that I'm going to take steps to make sure that never happens again. Right, and that's what I've done most of my life. I don't put up with disrespect. I definitely don't put on silly comments that you know, oh, somebody, I was doing a podcast and the first thing he started with last week was, oh, you've got negative reviews on Google. Does that bother you? And I'm like, well, first of all, I ain't seen it. Secondly, what the hell's that about? And thirdly, I'm a multi-million-dollar company. You think I give a shit about 2 comments on Google? What, are you mad? What a question to ask. You know, I don't care, you know, and I got myself into a place only over the last 5 years. I really don't care what you think.
Right.
Where people say that and they see the comments and they do because it hurts them because we're human beings and we all suffer from childhood trauma. But once I cleared my trauma, I do not care. And I say things that you're not supposed to say. I curse, I do everything, I tell you the truth. I'm aggressive with this stuff, you know, and if that's not for you, well, go somewhere else. I'm not your guy. You know, we don't take on people willy-nilly, you know. Oh, such and such a body wants to come aboard. His mum's got $1 million check. We don't care. If you're not ready to come on board, I ain't touching you. Britney Spears, we talked about last time. I turned it down for $1 million. I had $300 in the bank at the time. It was crazy. No, it wasn't. You're either in or you're out. We can either fix you or we can't. We're not going to play. We're not going to play God if you're not ready, man. There's nothing you can do. So I stand tall today, Tony, and I stand strong. And some people call it arrogance. I call it walking 25 years with God and building that confidence up as we go along. And I don't apologize for anything that I do. And I do it because I love it today. I don't have to work. We could close everything down tomorrow and I'll be fine. Thank you very much for the rest of my life and more. But this ain't about money. This ain't about publicity. You'll never see me selling my services on any podcast. I don't do that. We have a foundation that we'll talk about later, but I don't want anything from you, man. You know, I'm just here to help one person, you know, and I'm doing that for so long and it just feels good.
Yeah. And you know, and that's where we clicked at, right? Because I think in a lot of ways, people tiptoe around doing the job that they're called to do, right? And sometimes as men, you know, sometimes as men, we have to approach the situation as men. And you know, there's a certain way that we talk to each other, and I'm right there with you. You either are looking for the help or you don't, right? You know, but there's no in between. There's no in between. I can't do anything unless you're ready. And when you're ready, we're going to do what we need to do in order to get you to a place where you can begin the healing process. But as you said before, we got to address the childhood trauma. And this is the crazy part, because a lot of people never even realize that they're holding on to childhood trauma, that they're holding on to generational trauma, that they're holding on to all of the things, the mental health, right? You know what I'm saying? Through their addictions, their behavioral health, through their actions, you know, and things like that. And, you know, and sometimes people never even understand because they get so used to being in these sort of relationships that they never really see the narcissists.
Yeah.
Right. Or either they're so afraid to hold themselves accountable for their own outcomes of their actions and things like that. You know, and I want to get your thoughts on this. SMS Virtual Solutions that says that comes from with knowing that you make a difference and knowing you are impactful for your audience. You know, thank you again. She was on the show not too long ago, and you know, beautiful conversation. Can't wait to keep connecting with her and everything. And so thank you. If you have any questions or anything like that, please put them in there. Questions or comments, put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to get them up there. But I'm gonna hand this over to you, Robb. Let's talk about the mental health and accountability when it comes down to walking the path of recovery. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that think that it's impossible. Maybe they've gone too far within their addiction. You know, we work with people all the time that's addicted to meth, heroin, and the new one, the most dangerous one out there, fentanyl, alcoholism. You know, and I shared that part of the journey, and out of respect, you know, I just want to before I let you answer that, or say, I want to say to the family out there that just lost that young man to alcoholism. I want to give a huge shout out and mad respect to you, and know that we are here to support you. And I'll never disrespect you by putting a name out there, but I just want to show respect by saying, we will always say his name. And let me know, reach out to me. I can get you that support that you need. And I'm here to walk with you. And so is other people. And now with that being said, guys, I love you. This is like an extended family. If they're on here, they know who we're talking about. But I want to get your thoughts on that, Rob, the mental health aspect, dealing with that, because you've had to deal with this before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little bit.
Well, mental health problems as a whole is huge today, and it's not a fad or a fashion thing, or it's cool to be. We're discovering more today with the neuroscience and the stuff we use, that most people have, well, all people have childhood trauma, but with alcoholics and addicts and PTSD sufferers, we hear things different, and we're more sensitive to a trauma than the normal person.
Right.
And we get in patterns, and here's the key. Everybody gets in patterns, and everybody likes the comfort zone. No champions were born in the comfort zone, guys. You need to jump out of that straight away. You need to change them patterns. The patterns of self-sabotage. When we're born, we're toddlers and we're running around the house, and mom says to us, hey, don't put your hand on the stove, it'll burn you. We put our hand on the stove and it burns us, and we cry. What did the baby learn from that, or the toddler? It learned that whatever mom says is true. Okay, that's the fundamental basis of the action. So we carry that through life. As we go through life, we realize that not everybody that tells us something is true. But, and here's the but, because it came from mom, and because it was so early in our brain development, 1 or 2% of that stays at the back of the subconscious mind. Okay, this is when you've not done your trauma work. So what happens is you go out and speak or do something. 999 people said, oh my God, you're the best thing in the world. One person said you were crap. You're going to start concentrating on the one person that said you were terrible. That's the trauma we're talking about. So to correlate this here, as you are today, and what happened there is almost impossible on your own. You need a good doctor like me that can point it out, or a therapist, point out what's going on, heal it, and move on. We have to uncover, discover, discard of that trauma, and they may be hundreds of trauma, and we call it going back to the scene of the crime. We need to pick all that apart and then start returning to today with the clear mind, the basal ganglia, the hypothalamus, and the amygdala, which they're the driving forces behind any mental illness. The repetition, strengthens, confirms. We love that part of the brain as addicts and alcoholics.
Right.
It's like, if you can imagine a basal ganglia like a clock face. This is what happens to the alcoholic and addict. Like 12 o'clock, you go out on a bender. 10 after, you end up in treatment. 20 after, you come out. Half past, the wife comes back. 22, you get that job you wanted. At 10 to, you self-sabotage again. Like, you can ask anybody who's still suffering and relapsing, give me a reason why you relapsed. Well, that's an excuse. Give me a reason, and they can't give you one. And the reason they can't give you one is twofold. One, the basal ganglia, that repetition, strengthens, confirms. But here, listen to this, guys. You won't hear this anybody else unless you see me on another podcast. The hypothalamus part of the brain is our survival part of the brain. It tells from birth we need to eat food and drink water to survive. That is it. The basic human being is programmed for that. That's called the hypothalamus that does that. So during a lifetime or drinking career, we don't know why or how, but the hypothalamus turns around to the alcoholic. This is why it's a disease, and it differs from any other addiction. The hypothalamus tells me to drink alcohol to survive. That's why alcohol comes before my children and work and everything else, because the survival part of the brain is saying, if you don't drink alcohol, you're going to die. And in reality, it's the opposite. So when we're halfway down a bottle of vodka and we're thinking, where do we get the next one from? Because the hypothalamus said, if you run out of this stuff, you're going to die. We didn't know that 2 years ago. We had no idea. So when you look at that new neuroscience that's come into the addiction world by us, we've done a lot of research on this, you realize that when you're born alcoholic, the predisposition passed down from generation to generation. I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol, not to say the alcohol. You realize that when I took that first drink at the age of 9, it was a ticking time bomb. And the last few years of my drinking, the choice whether to drink or not was taken away because the hypothalamus is screaming to prefrontal cortex. If you do this, you'll survive. If you drink this, you'll survive. You ask anybody, what's your favorite drink? Alcoholic, anything. Anything. And most alcoholics who end up, middle class, when they lose everything, they all go to vodka. The cheapest vodka available, because we all think you can't smell it on our breath, yet it's oozing out of our pores.
Right.
So that's the reason why we do what we do, because people don't know that. They go, oh, well, I go 90 meetings in 90 days. Meetings never going to keep you sober, man. It's not the means you make, it's the steps you take. It's the conscious power between my mind, which is energy, I can't see it, feel it, touch it, that's inside the brain, mind over the brain's matter. When that connects with another energy outside of mine, and we have the psychic, which is redirecting neural pathways and reprogramming the brain, our DNA changes. Holy shit. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You're not the same person as you was before.
No, I totally agree with that. And I want to tap into something because you said a lot of interesting things. The survival mechanism that comes along with that, right? Is that something? I know the answer to it, but I wanted to unpack it a little bit, because we learn to survive at a very early age, right? You know what I'm saying? Life teaches us. We talked about this. Sometimes you get put in situations at a very early age, and you get that flight or flight. Some people never really get out of that, right? Because it took me a long time too. And again, I'm speaking from experience. Like, holy shit, like for the longest time, for almost 30 some years of my life, all I knew how to do was survive.
Yeah.
I never knew that there was an other side to life, right? You know what I'm saying? Unwrapped Podcast said, I'm living proof of that, right? So I'm gonna put them up here. Yeah, most definitely, man. And I think when you look at it, you're looking at people who have walked this path and have the scars and the memories to tell of it, or the lack of memories, right? You know what I'm saying? But that survival instinct is something that we hone in on throughout the course of life. And I think the reality that we begin to live in becomes the true reality from our perception in those moments, right?
Yeah.
Because alcohol is something different.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And I've seen people go into recovery and do really well. And as soon as they get back on the streets, they go right back to doing it again.
Patterns, it's 10 patterns we get into. It's so easy to slide back. So when we look at the fight or flight, really dig deep, we found out that babies are born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises.
Right.
The rest are man-made. Wait till your father gets home, if you don't do this, and then the environment we are brought up in. If a young girl is at home and seeing, 2 or 3 nights a week, dad coming home drunk and mom and dad getting into a fist fight, what happens, again, the basal ganglia, that becomes a normal family life. So when she leaves the house, she moves in with somebody or goes to college, she's going to attract, with the energy inside her, she's going to attract the same guy that's going to end up beating her and end up being an alcoholic. It's 99% positive that will happen, to the extent that if she finds somebody good and kind to her, she'll self-sabotage that relationship.
Right.
So we look at that fear, we look at that pattern all through life. And the truth is, you can break free from that. I mean, you can literally break free. You can be anybody you want to be, guys, and you can do anything you want to do. Don't let anybody tell you that. So 10 years ago, people used to go, I used to say that to them, they go, well, I can't be president of the United States. Forget your political views for a second, guys. We had a business who ran the country for 4 years. He knew nothing about politics. Don't dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. It's just not true. Somebody's put that there, guys. And part of the trial work is going back and finding who put that there. Who told you you're never going to be tall enough, blonde enough, rich enough, or thin enough? Who told you? Even in a joke. Oh, Robert, so you're putting weight on. Oh, no, I'm just joking. That guy's gone. You can't afford to have them guys around you. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. So once we come out of that old pattern and create a new one, Remember, certain parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. 24 hours at a time is not an AA thing. It goes way before AA was even thought about. When the old philosophers found out that certain parts recess after they have the between 2 and 5 on a normal circadian rhythm sleep pattern, when the body's had its repair time. So when we wake up, and one of the reasons why nobody's woke up laughing is lack of oxygen. So between 2 and 4, our oxygen is really, really low. Where if we can snuff out that subconscious brain in the morning, that guy's going to have a bad day. He's going to steal, cheat on his wife. Then a guy there that wakes us up every morning because of lack of oxygen. Lack of oxygen will fry the subconscious brain. If we could get, say, a method or something to do first thing in the morning that would spark the conscious brain and get rid of this, the subconscious brain, wouldn't that be awesome? Well, we do. We have a method for that. And while you're coming from the conscious brain, you're not going to recycle into old thoughts. You're not, stepping on eggshells and stuff like that. It's not going to happen. But that's all learned behavior. That doesn't just come overnight. A fear, fear's not real, but a fear that comes overnight. It's not like all of a sudden you're fearful of this or you're scared. It's like that is embedded in you from childhood, and that's called childhood trauma.
Okay, I love that you said that and you broke that down, and I love how you laid that out on the table so people can unpack that and begin to really evaluate themselves, right? And there's other things that factor inside of there as well. And I love that you talked about the subconscious mind, because I've been doing a lot of research over the last couple of years, and about how the subconscious mind and unconscious mind, where the subconscious mind leaves off, the unconscious mind would take you there to different realms. But of course, for me, it's more of a spiritual wisdom journey. I always want to understand people, the universe, how we operate and how we move. How can I be better, right? What are the things I need to do to transform who I am to become who I'm supposed to be? And for me, that's going to be a forever journey. I'm always a student of this thing. And so now let's talk about grief and an addiction mind, right? Or the addict's mind, because I find that with the work that I do, with the men that I work with, a lot of times I have to go in and start to unpack all of these things that they put on top of on top of that hurt, that trauma. And what I find that a lot of times they're suppressing the reality that they're living in because the reality that they knew before is gone. Like, and I think we talked about this, and I shared a little bit about mine, and I'm gonna leave it open to you. After the loss of my son and my parents, my younger brother, I found myself going down that rabbit hole, drinking a little bit more, and things like that. And then finally, I just woke up one day and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And what I found that was once I started to do that, and I didn't go to an AA or anything like that. I stood with it. I said, I'm gonna go through this, and I'm just gonna see where it takes me. It's either gonna kill me or it's gonna make me stronger. Well, I was right. It didn't kill me. But did it take work? Yeah. It uncovered a lot of things that I had suppressed for over 30 some years. The losses that I endured from friends, the homelessness, the going to prison, the being molested, all of these different things had unveiled itself. But I also attribute that to the process of healing, right? So let's dive into the grief brain and how it's associated with someone who's using substances in addiction.
One of the things about grief that we found interesting is grief is like a trauma. It's like a stored trapped energy. So when something happens, let's say something happens today, that father dies or something, it's really important to understand that you have to grieve for that loss. Now that loss might be alcohol, a job, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We have a time period to grieve over that. And then you can start going back and restoring or repatterning around that. But it's still a trauma. And many people want to jump out of it, especially men, and get straight back and everything's okay. And, stop being a wimp, get up and be a man. I mean, guys tell guys all the time that. And we found that not to be true. We find out that we need a time period to recognize that trauma, feel that trauma, and sit with that pain for a day or week, whatever it is. Sit with that and really understand what you're going through. And don't push it off because somebody says that you need to come back to work tomorrow or you need to get over it. It's like, or time will heal everything. It's not true.
That's
You
not true.
Ever get over loss of a child.
Yeah.
Now, loss of parents, it's sad and stuff. They give you great lives, but a loss of a child, you never get over that shit. Never. And it's important to keep yourself sane while you're going through. So the grieving period happens, and then you have to look at reality and then start going to work on that trauma, on that grief, to heal that. Because if you don't heal it, the body keeps score. Great book out there. The body will keep hold of that. And what happens in the subconscious brain, anything that the brain can store with the alcoholic or addicted personality, it will hold. Pertaining to childhood trauma, it will hold, and there's billions of thoughts that we still have in the subconscious that we're not aware of, but it will hold and hold. And the basal ganglia I talked about, I tend to, when we self-sabotage, that's grief, that's alcohol, drugs, it'll release that time from the past. So your loss today correlates to a loss back when you was a kid. So now you have double trauma, double grief going on, so when you get over that grief, you have to go back and repair both or 3 times that trauma, because there is a memory recall in most of the stuff. People call it triggers. I don't like the word trigger. I can't be triggered to drink. It's impossible. But what can happen to normal people who are struggling is that the prefrontal cortex shoots back into the subconscious brain where the self-sabotage is, and it gets an idea. Prefrontal cortex has a main job, and that is when there's a problem, it screams to the brain, give me an answer in milliseconds. When we are still suffering from childhood trauma or grief that we're going through, the prefrontal cortex says, give me an answer. Subconscious, conscious brain, give me an answer. It will automatically come from the subconscious, horrible stored brain all the time. The idea to reprogram and repair, go back to the scene of the crime, is when the prefrontal cortex says, give me an answer, the conscious brain kicks in. Then you're making the right decisions in a clear-minded situation. You might need medication, you might need to stay in a treatment center, stuff like that. But as time goes on, you can deal with it better. You never get over it, but you can deal with it better. So when they say time heals, it's not true, but 10% of it is that we get away. And rightly so. We should be able to deal with grief, 2 or 3 months after the idea of grief, but it mustn't affect us internally. Well, of course, we're sad. Every time something happens, like if your child dies and you used to go to McDonald's every Sunday, every time you see a kid coming out of McDonald's with his dad, the memory recall is going to take you straight back to your kid. It's going to be a sad period. But after the time of mourning, you can't let it rule your life. It's like it's like today, what we do, Tony. We can go back and help. I can go back to the project and help people get well. I just can't live there. Right. It's the same with grief. Let it pass, let it, mourn for it, grieve for it. And as you get over it, it's always going to still be there. And you can go back and help other people with that experience, but you can't go back and live there because it serves no purpose. But the subconscious brain, remember, guys, the subconscious brain wants to kill you and make it look like an accident.
Yeah. You said a lot of things there. And I want to unpack that as well. Because you're absolutely right. You can't live with your grief. You learn how to live with it, as SMC Virtual Solutions just said. You learn how to live with it because it doesn't go anywhere. Child loss is one of those things, and we talked about this. I think we both come from a place of really deep experience when it comes down to that, and we'll dive into that a little bit, But also, I don't want to take away from anyone else who have experienced those different sorts of losses as well, like parental or sibling and things like that. Because coming from a place where I have lost my parents, where I have lost my younger brother, as well as my child, I try not to compare because you never know what that relationship is to that individual. Now, if you was to ask either one of us, child loss is the hardest one that you will ever go to because it's the only one that doesn't have a title to it, right? and it's something that sticks with us on a day-to-day basis. And I have to honestly say that I was that person for the longest time, Rob. After I lost my son, it was real hard for me to go around my friends who had kids. And over a period of time, what I realized is that, yeah, I lost my son, but my son had friends that cared about him at such a very early age. And I didn't think about that, right? I didn't think about the parents of those children that were watching their children grieve the loss of their friend at such a very early age. And so I ended up I stopped being selfish, and I wanted to go and check up on them. I went to my friend, I went to my son's best friend, and I sat with him. I said, buddy, how you doing? He goes, man, I miss my friend. I miss him so much. Why did he have to go? And I said, I don't know. And he sat there and he hugged on me. And that's where everything began to unpack and unravel. And then I went to talk to, he had a little girlfriend, right? You know what I'm saying? He had a little girlfriend in school. And I didn't think about that neither. And I went over and I saw her. I said, look, how you doing, baby? And she was like, I'm okay, Tony. And I was like, okay, you want to go somewhere, sit down and talk? And her little hands grabbed my little hands, and we walked over to the playground and sat underneath the tree and everything. And she climbed up on my lap and just put her head on my shoulder and just started crying. She was like, I miss him. And it dawned on me, no matter what, this is the reason why I do what I do, right? This is the reason why, I may work with men, but this is the reason why I reach out to other people that are better at doing these things than I am, especially in those different areas. Look, in my lane, I'm Superman. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I don't take that away from myself. In my lane, I'm Superman. I work with men. This is my jam. But when it comes down to working with kids and things like that, I know that there's people out there that are more equipped at doing it than I am. There are people out there that are more equipped at working with women than I am. There are people out there that are better at working with addictions than I am. And so I'm constantly like, how can I build up a circle to be able to serve a lot more? And I say that to ask you this: when let's dive deeper into your journey of your loss. And then what was your healing process moving forward after that?
So the biggest one with everything that I lost and the homelessness was losing my children. The wife, was sad, but you get over that. But loss of my children, like you said, when I was homeless, every Christmas and birthday, and I would just be in tears, and then I didn't see them for 30 years. My eldest one. Now that as she was 3 or 4 years old, the last thing she said to me when the authorities took them off me was, Daddy, please stop drinking, is what she said. And I'd not seen her since. So that long period. Now, if you've lost your children, guys, or you're estranged from your parents or whatever it is, and they're still alive, that will all be repaired if you do the right thing. And you often hear that, well, what's the right thing? It's being the best human being you can be and helping people and realizing it's not about you. You have to go for your own stuff. You have to repair that, but it's not about you. So all the time, when I first came out, I'm working free of charge. I worked free of charge for about 4 years, and my money ran out, and the house got foreclosed on. But I kept working with people free of charge. And then kind of we created, a little practice, and then I started to earn a little bit of money. But I always knew, Tony, even when I was on the streets, I always knew that I would be somebody that I'm proud of. I don't give a shit of anybody else, that I'm proud of, and my daughters would be proud of. And I kept working and working. And it's only really when I met my wife 10 years ago that we started to build this multi-million-dollar empire. But 4 years ago, and you know the story, Tony, but the audience doesn't. 4 years ago, I get a message on Messenger at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and it says, "Hey, Dad," and that's all I could use. Words I couldn't read the words after as "Hey, Dad," and it was Charlotte. We call her Charlie, my eldest daughter, reaching out to me after all that time, and she says, "Dad, I've seen you on TV. I want to meet you. I don't believe what Mom was telling me all those years. I want to meet you. I want to see you, and I've got something to show you." So we have travel people around us. So we called our travel guys. It was on a plane within like 2 hours, 3 hours back to the UK. And this was only 4 years ago. And we got there and we're in a hotel overnight and we walked up to the house and I'm so scared and all them thought patterns come back. It's like, oh my God, oh my God. And she opened the door unexpectedly and we hugged and we cried. And I thought that was the happiest moment of my life. But then she took my hand and she led me into a living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter.
Mm.
So, and then 4 or 5 weeks ago, my youngest daughter got in contact with me, same thing. So what I'm saying to you guys going through this is whatever you lost, if you're doing the right thing and you're helping others, you'll get back. And the journey is for a reason. You see, when I look back at my homeless now, where I hated everybody and anything for being there, I look back now, you know what, Tony, that was like 14 months at Harvard University. The stuff that I learned from the streets, and I thought I knew stuff when I was living on the projects.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know anything till you're homeless. You don't know anything till everybody has abandoned you,
Yes.
and you're left on your own.
Mm.
So I was unrecognizable. I had the bear down here. I was, a mess. I was, slept in clothes for like a year, not being changed, not shaved, not bathed. The quickest way to bring a human being to insanity is take away that identity. I didn't recognize myself and isolate them. And I was alone in the streets of Manchester. And that's what happens. But whatever you're going through, man, you just got to be. And I hated these, be the best person you can be. It's like, shut up. You don't know what I've been through. It'll pass, nothing lasts forever. It's like, well, you're in it. When you're in the pain, when you're in that position, time and time and time again, sometimes you want to give up, man. And if you have a supreme being, higher power, God, Uncle Jimmy, whoever's looking after you up there, because you need that energy from the mind connected with another energy greater than you, you need it, period. It will be okay, I mean, just keep going, keep going, keep going, and you will find that not only does your life get better, but for me, God rewards me every single day. And my life gets better every single day. Like, I will never stagnate ever again. I signed an office deal, a few years ago in Dallas for $1 million for offices. I put a contract down for, I don't know, 9 years or something for $1 million. And people says, how do you sleep at night, Rob? How do you sleep at night? My answer is always the same. I died twice on the streets in Manchester. What the hell is anybody going to do to me that I haven't done to myself? So we take these chances and we step out of comfort zones and we stop putting brakes on our imagination pertaining to what people tell us we can do. Oh, Rob, you can never write a book. I was in Dallas for 14 years, 4 years ago. We moved to San Antonio. I kept saying, I was thinking right now, I don't be silly. Nobody wants to hear your story. Rob, you're not an author. Never wrote a book, Tony. Came to San Antonio 4 years ago, got a new set of guys, big, probably guys, spiritual, strong. And I said to one of them one day, I'm thinking of writing a book. And I thought he's going to kill me for not writing a book already. He's like, Ron, what are you doing? You should have done this years ago. So I wrote a book. The people around us will get you through and positively project you. But if you have one person around you, the one that criticizes, the one that keeps putting you down or tries to get every little mistake you make, they jump. He needs to go, man. You ain't got time for this shit. And when people say, I've got time for this, there's so much truth in that. Moms, how many times you said, I'm waving off to kindergarten, next minute I'm waving off to college. You don't have time. Most of the people we interviewed, family and friends, were on the deathbed in hospice. We asked them one question. What did you think you had, but you didn't have in the end? And they all said, I thought I had more time. I thought I had more. It goes. So, guys, start that recovery. Date that girl, date that guy, buy that house, start that empire today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, man. And let me tell you this. If you like, I don't think I'm ready. You're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready for a baby, for a job, for a bit. You're never going to be ready. Not one day you're going to get and go, oh, okay, I'm going to build $1 million business. I'm ready. No one's ever ready, guys. So start taking a step forward and you watch God guide that shit. If you just watch him, man, and you will grow and people around you will grow and you start living the dream, man, rather than dreaming of that living.
Yeah. I want to elaborate on that because I love that you said that And one of the biggest things that I encourage people to do, find the thing that you love doing, that you're passionate about, and you begin to beat on it. You begin to manifest it. You begin to fine tune it and put it out there into the world. And you said something earlier, in the beginning, don't think that is the hottest thing out there. Give it away. See what people think about it, right? And keep putting it out there. Keep refining yourself. Keep redefining your mental. Keep what I'm saying. Keep growing and understanding, and just keep doing it. Then eventually, everything will start to make sense. I totally agree with that because it was the same thing. I did what I did for the first 5 years, and I gave everything away. I realized when I first got into it, I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna be the hottest thing moving." Until those doors started getting slammed in my face, right? And people didn't want to work with me because I was so fresh onto the scene, and it took me a long time. As a matter of fact, it took me about 6 months to get into it, probably a little bit longer. And I finally just put my head down. I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I put horse blinders on, and I stayed focused on the path. I didn't worry about what was going on the outside of it, right? And did I get my butt whipped? I did. Yeah, I sure did. I got manhandled, tossed around, and everything else. But I kept going. I kept going. I had people who dragged me through the mud, stabbed me in the back, talking bad about me. It didn't matter. I said, screw it. I'm gonna keep going. But then it dawned on me, Rob, that although I could have got mad at these individuals, but once I began to sit with everything, I realized that they had a role to play. Right? Everybody that comes into it has a role to play. It's either they're there to criticize you to make you better. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at the situation in that aspect, you know what I'm saying? No matter what they do, take it, right? And then you flip it around. You use it for fuel in order to get better. But if you use it for like a softener, of course you're going to crack under pressure. You're always going to crack under pressure. So it's reverse engineering that mentality, that mindset as moving forward, right? And then eventually I got better. And then I realized that this thing called grief was the best thing that ever happened to me, although it paid a hell of a price for it. It unraveled so many different things and helps in my healing, which in turn, the price now that I pay for it is feeling like I never do enough to help individuals, right? You know what I'm saying? Because the gift is like, it's so much of it in abundance that I'm like, I have a lot of it. I want to give it away. I want to, what I'm saying? And I'm constantly exploring those different avenues about how can I do this? How can I reach more people? How can I give this thing away? Right. And so now my question to you would be is that during the course when you watch people, especially being a doctor that you are, and helping people with addiction, what is the biggest challenge that you see with people that are struggling with addiction?
The biggest challenge is the knowledge and education that you can get off that stuff. We don't work with a lot of entrepreneurs these days, rather than 5%, 10% is alcohol, drugs, 90% is entrepreneurs or people who lost their way or people that want to start a business or get the kids back. And there's a lot of learning to be done there. And here's the but: you cannot help them if you've not been through it. I don't care how many degrees you have. I don't care if you've got a master's in alcoholism. If you've not been there, you can't help, because you can help with depression maybe, and you can help with PTSD, but when it comes to addiction, you can't help if you've not been through it. So you have to realize everything we go through is a lesson, and we'll be provided with more as we go along, more and more and more. But you have to stop believing some of the crap you hear out there. If you're an AA guy, stop going to meetings where they keep telling you always powerless over alcohol, because step one doesn't say that. It said we admitted we were. It's a past tense step. Stop believing that you'll never recover. You'll always be recovering. If I tell people I'm recovering from flu all the time, guess what? My mind's going to give me flu most days, because I'm telling myself that I'm suffering from flu. And if you only knew how powerful your mind was, you would be the place you want to be in life. you would be the happiest person in the world, because you can make it happen. But take them breaks off your imagination, man, and start hanging around with the guys you want to be. Okay. Don't
Yeah.
hang around the guys that
Yeah.
was, or hang around the guys you want to be, and be aggressive. This is your fucking life we're talking about, guys. Well, I'm a sponsor. This is your life we are talking about. So you have to be aggressive with this. If you're, a 12-step room guy, make sure you find the right guy. If you, go to church, make sure you find the right church. It doesn't make a difference where you go to help at the end of the day, but you have to be aggressive about it. And then you become the best person that you could ever be. I've worked with 9,000 patients over 30 years, had an effect with my TV appearances, 100 million people maybe, in the years I've been doing this. And it's important that you let people know that what you're going through is temporary. What you're going through is a lesson. So if you're a mom who's no good husband's left, and he's told you that no other man will have you with 3 kids, yeah, Kim, for a start. And secondly, that's not true, man. You start that little business, start making stuff or selling stuff on eBay for little kids or whatever. You can make something, man, because once you step forward and stop thinking you're a piece of shit like the ex-husband or parents. So once you step forward and you stand in the light, the sunlight of the spirit, we call it, miracles happen on a daily basis. And people say to me all the time, they go, oh my God, Rob, today I got this. I actually got this. And I go, hey, listen, buddy, that's been around you for the last 10 years, but you've never seen it. Because you've got these focus of, I'm no good, I'm a waste of time. Nobody else is going to date me. The guys who say that, man, they're not guys, man. Hate's a bit strong. I dislike weak men. I won't speak to them. I won't teach them. I won't take them on as a patient. It's just me. It's about time those men stood up and deal with the grief, crying, and go home crying your eyes out. All that, get it out, get it done, get it grieved, get it ready. Because, oh my God, let me tell you something right now, guys. There's something bigger waiting, because you've been chosen. You think we go through all this stuff for nothing?
Oh no!
Like the guys that die of it. I mean, it's horrible, man. But the guys that come through, you think we go through that for nothing? No. Oh no. Nothing in God's world happens by mistake, man. And they come to me. What do you know, Dr. Robin? Your big house. You've never been home. Check. I've been homeless. You've never been beaten. Check. You never lost your kids. Check. You never stabbed your wife almost to death. Check. Come on, man. I keep coming. Because I got all the checks going. God's me up through all these checks, man. And I tell you what, if you find something I haven't done, I'll probably go out and do it tomorrow just to make sure that I know what you're. I started smoking once because I was trying to treat a patient smoking. I had no experience in it. Just smoked for like a month or something like that many, many years ago, so I could help and know what they're going through. And just be passionate about what you do, guys, and start that empire. One business card, one little website, one little $10 a month comment. It doesn't make any difference. Believe that you've been chosen because you're still here, and fight for them kids. Fight for your right to be heard, because not a lot of people these days are validated at home or approved at home. And we're chasing that approval from men, from husbands, we're chasing that approval. You don't fucking need that approval, man. You're here. There's a reason why you're here. Baby.
Boom. There it goes. And I'm glad that you said that, because that helped me a lot in you saying that right there. Because for the longest time, my friend, my brother, I used to tell people, because I've had so many failed relationships, it wasn't that I didn't deserve a good relationship, because I've done a lot of healing in myself, but I started looking at the multiple relationships that didn't make it. And then it dawned on me, and I started saying, maybe I'm the seasonal one. Maybe I'm the one that maybe I'm not the person, I'm not somebody's forever, right? Because I'm just here to walk you to your next destination. And you think about this strange gift that I have with grief, right? And all the things that I had to go to in order to get good at understanding grief to the depth that I do now. I was like, I carry a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
But then, I began to look at my faith. And because I was, after I rebuilt my relationship with God, I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I was listening to a motivational one time, and I point, and I held on to this phrase from Inky Johnson, and I'm gonna put this out there and get your thoughts on this. Because for those out there struggling with faith and everything, this is the reason why I built mine up. So if you saw what I was going and you like that and you see my faith and it's something positive that you can hold on to, I'm a firm believer. Hold on to it until you're strong enough to develop your own, right? You know what I'm saying? It's okay to hold on to someone else's faith until you're strong enough to develop your own, right? And I put that over in your court. What do you think about that?
I think, yeah. I think you've got to, when you surround yourself with the right people, they start telling you how good you are and amazing you are, and you start to believe that, obviously. And you have to stick in there. It's a long haul, guys. People say you can't recover overnight. That's not true. You didn't get sick overnight, you can't get it. That's not true. Third alcoholic in the book recovered immediately. So once we recover immediately, then we find something that we can help. We find something so we're financially stable, or get your kids back, and we stay the distance with them in the knowledge that it's going to happen. Not maybe, not it's going to happen. You gotta believe it's going to happen. Because when you start believing it's going to happen, all sorts of crazy things happen. You think for a second that a guy that was homeless like me can build an empire like this? Yeah, no, that's not true. I did. I'm living proof I did.
Right.
So don't tell me that you can't do it. You just have to stay the distance. When I first came over here with my thoughts and my program, the medical fraternity tried to shut me down. People online would saying bad things about me, man. That voodoo doctor, he's not English, didn't go to college, he hasn't got a family. They threw it all at me, man. And I started to get upset. It really hurt me, but I kept going and kept going and kept going. Now the same guys are scrambling to get to me to let them know what I'm teaching. It's like, well, you want to know me then, so you don't want to know me now. I do go back and I do lectures to doctors and psychiatrists and surgeons pertaining to mental health. I do that, but at the end of the day, man, I knew I had something. I knew I could have the power to change the world. And once you've been through what you've gone through now, guys, temporary, once you get to the other side, man, you will have all the power in the world to keep going and make sure it happens. But I think I said before, I have something not a lot of people have, and that is enough. I have enough, but it won't stop me working with others. It won't stop me striving. You see, you get people like me, entrepreneurs that get to a certain stage and want to keep everybody down and, secret how they got there. I don't want you to be as good as me. I want you to be better than me. So you're out there listening, I go, you Google me, and you go, holy shit, I can't get hold of this guy. You message me, man, we'll talk all day long when I've got time. Yeah, I want you to build empires. I want your kids back. I want the relationship. I want you to love yourself. I want you to serve others. I want you to have a life beyond your wildest dreams, because it's freaking waiting for you. And don't let anybody tell you different. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for you to get your shit together before he gives you everything. That's all it is. This is not your lot.
I love that, man. I love that. And before I let you go, my brother, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm definitely gonna have to have you back up here again. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just who we are. That's my brother. Everybody, this is my brother from another mother. This is Dr. Robb Kelly. You know what I'm saying? If you guys haven't noticed, we've known each other for a few years. And so, today was just us getting caught up and getting you guys to know who he is. And know that when it comes down to addiction, he's a guy that you want to learn from, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're going through addiction, reach out to him. His information I will have in the description as well. But before I let you go, Robb, if you could leave the audience with something today, what would you leave them with?
I'd leave them with a couple of things. One is believe. Just believe here for a reason, and you can do anything you want to do. Secondly, stop putting the brakes on your imagination, guys. If you think you can be here, you can be here. There's no difference. If money don't make you happy, believe me, I've been rich, I've been poor. I choose rich every time, but it's an inside job. But if your idea is to earn $1 million and it will make you feel, great, and you can help others, and there's nothing stopping you from doing that, right, apart from the thoughts that somebody's put that you can't. You can be anybody you want to be, and you can do anything that you want to do. And I'm not just talking, look at me, I've done it. I'm talking about millions of people that I've come into contact with over 30 years. I've been in the industry of people that have done it. He says, you have to start believing. Nothing lasts forever. And so I tell people three things. First of all, compliment three people every day. You've got to do that, man. Okay. Secondly, put a smile on your face whenever you meet somebody. And thirdly, stop giving a shit what people think about you. Because the power in saving a life is this true story. Man goes to the Golden Gate Bridge, young kid, throws himself off, commits suicide. When the police pull him out of the water, they find his ID, they go back to his apartment to try and find next of kin. What they found was a letter on the kitchen table, and it read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge and throw myself off and commit suicide. Unless on the way there, somebody smiles, says good morning, waves at me, or nods at me. In that case, I'll stop right there, turn around, and I'll start again. So my question to the audience is this. How many people have you walked past today who's heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? You just never know, man. You never know what a smile does, or a tap, or a thumbs up. You never know, man. Never, never, ever, ever don't think you don't have the power. Never undermine that power that you have.
That's strong right there. That's definitely strong. And now my next thing is, where can people find you?
So Dr. Robb Kelly, if you're listening, not watching, 2Bs, ROBBKELOY.com is the website. Jump on any search engine, put my name in. If you are interested, not in what we do, it's all online what we do, but we started a foundation. The only thing I'm going to ask people out there is if you can afford 50 cents or $1, we will tell you where that dollar's gone, and the guy you donated it to will call you or email you thanking you. The Robb Kelly Foundation.org. If you have $1 to put in, it's amazing. If you don't, contact us in a couple of weeks' time. We've probably got money for you.
Nice. I love that. I definitely love that. And with that being said, for everybody tuning in, as always, I'm giving updates, right? You know what I'm saying? You guys already know I dropped a magazine just over a week ago. The first one, the Grief Talk magazine, the first magazine ever dedicated to grief, trauma, and mental health. And we've added in new sections. There's people on here right now that are added in there. There's going to be in a contact page. There's going to be updated podcasts as well. We have the new segment, the letters to your loved ones. So if you have a letter or something that you would like to share with us, we'll put it in there. But also, we're going to do one better. Whenever I do a podcast, I'll read the letter with your permission, of course. So this is our way of saying, we want to support you. Want to make sure that you guys have the resources in order to do what you need to do. And with that being said, for everyone who's been here from Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you guys for always tuning in. Thank you guys for your support. If this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to their YouTube channel. Everything is down there. The website, www.mensgriefsupport.org. Of course, this is a nonprofit for men, dedicated to men, providing space that are for those men who have who are struggling with loss. And this is what we do. So a lot of information is going to be there. So reach out to us, reach out to Robb. And with that being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to see you guys in the next one. And as Robb said, don't forget to say hi to that person that you see going down the street, because you never know, it may just save a life. And with this month and everything, let's do what we can to stop suicides. Okay, let's treat each other like humans. And guys, we love you, and we're going to see you guys in the next one. You guys have a great day. Robb, thank you again for being on. For everyone else, you guys have a great one. We'll see you guys in the next episode.